we have another big deadline coming up, Friday, the trade deadline. Trump has imposed it. And Prime Minister Carney did in that news conference speak about a few things there, saying they're continuing to work. He doesn't know if they're going to have a deal by August 1st, but they're continuing to work. Dominic LeBlanc is in Washington and will continue to be. But David Cochrane, who's on vacation this week, and yet he's David Cochrane. Yeah. He's not David Cochrane. He texted me in the middle of the show to say, Carney's comments on tariffs were news. He basically conceded there is zero chance of getting tariffs removed from strategic sectors, things like steel and aluminum. Does that strike you as news that these are going to stay?
Yes and no. I mean, Carney's already indicated that he doesn't really see anything happening with the United States that doesn't include tariffs. Mm-hmm. You know, he came in, right out of the gate in January, it was January when the Liberal leadership.
It's been a long year.
Been a long year.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that started, and he said, he's the one to deal with Trump. He said elbows up. But as time has gone on, he has very much tried to temper expectations, and the fact and the idea that tariffs are going to be on the table in some format. Mm-hmm. I think he has come to that conclusion, fairly long ago, and he did say something to that effect. The fact that he's now saying, on everything, including the extra tariffs on steel and on aluminum, in addition to the ones on, the ones that were imposed for, the trumped up, if you will, reasons regarding fentanyl and border security.
Yeah. It's hard to keep track of all the different
ones.
Yeah.
Based on everything that Donald Trump has done and said and actually acted on, he's not letting go of the idea of tariffs. Yeah. With the imposition or the announcement regarding copper just today, mm-hmm. he's going all in on tariffs. The U.S., members of the U.S. administration, they are basically saying, it's black and white. We want open markets, but that really means U.S. gets to have an open market to everywhere, and nobody can come into the United States without tariffs.
Without paying a price.
He said tariffs is the most beautiful word. He
meant it.
He meant it.
Yeah, and they have raised billions of dollars in tariffs that
they have taxed their citizens.
Yes, let us be clear. They may be cutting the taxes for some people in the United States, but it is American consumers and businesses who will pay the bulk of this. Let me not talk about the Americans. Tim and Amanda, I want to ask you, if we get to a deal, this is a prime minister who won the election by saying, I am the guy who is best to deal with Trump to get you the best deal. 15% has been the baseline with Japan, with the EU, with the UK. What does a win look like for Canada? Do we have to be less than that?
I think we at least have to have a tie with the UK at 10 or 15. I think if we're more than that, it will be a loss. If we're less than that, then that's a win. But I think it's going to be that simple metric of, all right, the EU got this, the UK got this. How come Canada is in a different category that is higher? The other thing that could be a win, and you're seeing this pop up more, is, okay, if we're giving exemptions to whatever's USMCA compliant, how many compliance pathways are there? And if the government can say, hey, we have, 100 compliance pathways that mean that tariff over there is meaningless, then maybe that's a win. But they can't say that too loudly for fear that the president will look to squat on that pathway.
All right. Final minute to you, Amanda, on this. What does a win need to look like?
Yeah, I think increasingly it's becoming obvious that a win is going to have to be as good as or better than the deals that have taken shape over the last few weeks. I think Canadians are going to look at that simple metric and say, well, listen, the EU got a 15% deal. If our deal is higher than that, it does feel like a loss. And I'm sure that is the pressure and consideration that the Carney government is dealing with right now. I think that what you heard today, to me, does not feel different than what he said previously. He said, listen, we want to get the best deal for Canada, but there's a likelihood that there's going to be a tariff involved. He's been telegraphing that for a few weeks now. So nothing that was said today felt so different to me. He also mentioned, obviously, the defense spend, what's been done on the border, are all things that are under consideration as they hash out this deal. But it does feel like the promise of this August 1st deadline feels like it may be slipping away.
All right. To our power panel, thank you very much on what is a big day for foreign policy, whether it has to do with the Middle East or U.S.-Canada trade. Thanks very much to Amanda, Sherelle, and I just pointed at you, Tim, and said Amanda, Tim, and Sherelle, Evelyn.